Today we take a comprehensive look back at the Madlanga Commission from its very first day of hearings to the latest developments that have shaped its trajectory. Over the past months, the Commission has uncovered critical details, raised tough questions and drawn national attention as it examined the events and decisions at the heart of its mandate. Well, to help us unpack the key moments, implications, and what happens next, to help us unpack this, we're joined by SABC News senior reporter Kenny Mapanga in studio. She's been covering the Commission from the day it started. Professor Dumisani Mabunda, who is a lecturer at the College of Law, joins us on our video link from the Police Practice Department at the University of South Africa, as well as legal analyst Melusi Xulu. Thank you so much to all, and a very good afternoon to you. Well, it has been quite an interesting year. Kenny, let me start with you. And I want to take it back to the genesis of, those key allegations that were made, firstly, by Provincial Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi on the 6th of July, firstly, with that presser before the commission then was established. Perhaps let's take it from his first day of testimony, just some of the key allegations that he made.
Indeed. Well, if we take it a few steps back, we didn't know that when the Minister of Police, that is Senzo Mchunu, who is now on a leave of absence, when he first made that decision to disband the PKTT, I think it went by quite quietly on the 31st of December 2024. And then, of course, what followed is the July media briefing, that is Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, and at the time no one knew what he was going to be speaking about, but it can be stated that at that moment those allegations had really shocked the nation, because not only did he implicate the minister in being in alleged cohesion with these particular criminal syndicates, but he also roped in the judiciary as well as prosecutors and other key role players in the criminal justice system in wrongdoing because of this disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team. Of course, when the evidence shocked the nation and everyone was calling on the president to give a way forward to these very serious allegations, what then took place is that in order for the president to make a decision, he then decided that he was going to test those allegations in order to get a sound opinion through that commission of inquiry, which was established in terms of his powers. And of course, that is what brings us to where we are today in the first half of these allegations being probed into criminality, political interference and corruption in the criminal justice system.
Yeah, Prof, let me bring you in. Just some of your takeouts, particularly looking at the fact that we are still on phase one. I'm quite interested to hear on how a key witness, of course, in this matter, that is a police minister who is on special leave, Senzo Mchunu, how you would frame his testimony, particularly in the last days of the commission itself. Of course, he is accused of being very instrumental in that disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team. We've heard his testimony over the past few days in December, how he did not, in fact, consult with key members of the National Police Force, particularly the National Commissioner. Just talk us through and walk us through how integral the police minister's role was here, and how he fared, do you think, during the commission itself?
Yeah, good afternoon, and good afternoon to the viewers. We have all listened to the minister outlining his decision that he took on the 31st of December 2024. But it is going to be a challenge to justify all of those things, looking at this question when the Justice Madlanga asked whether the relationship between the minister and the commissioner of the police was a good one, and he emphasized that it was a good one. That, for me, should have been a starting point to at least have a conversation with the commissioner of the police, but the minister explained the reasoning behind the decision that he took. He said he reflected clearly when he was on his own, so he didn't want any opposition to the idea or strategy that he wanted to implement. Obviously, the Commission has listened to various witnesses. The Commission will make a decision as to which evidence can stand the test of time and which one will not stand the test of time. We are in recess right now, and obviously there are more questions that will be directed at the Minister, and we will wait to see how we will respond to those proceedings.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Prof. And before we go into, just the nitty-gritty in terms of the key witnesses and just some of the things that came out, Mr. Kulu, let me rope you in here. In terms of the Commission's mandate, we know, of course, it was to probe criminal infiltration, political interference, as well as corruption in the criminal justice system. Some of the evidence that we've heard, clearly from the first phase, which was very much fact-finding in nature, some of course are saying that it has already uncovered prima facie evidence. Just bring us up to speed in terms of, just from a legal framework, what are we starting to make sense of, particularly in this first phase? I would dare say that we also started looking at phase 2, in fact, of the Commission itself.
Good afternoon to Nati, Ms. Mapanga, and to Professor Mabunda, and to the viewers at home. I think we can see that there is some criminality, but I think for me, there are some witnesses that I think are still important that are needed. For example, Mr. Madlanga, I know in the ad hoc committee, he was visited, or the parliament went to him, but I think he's one of the witnesses I would want to see, so that at least we can see how far the infiltration went, because remember, when it comes to Ket Madlanga and the security company, it was also involved in the Kurleni, and also there's some connection I want to see with him and Mr. Mkhulu. The current minister was on leave. So I think that for me will at least give it some shape. But also let's remember that, when it comes to the Commission of Inquiry, it's not necessarily a court of law. It's just there to investigate, and then the recommendations can be made, which then it can be chosen whether there's enough evidence for a criminal case to be opened. Like it happened with the Zondo Commission, when it was, I believe it was Agrizi, we saw how he gave the relevant information where there was a criminality with regards to Bosasa, but then at the end of the day, he made a deal and he was able to plead guilty, and he's going to assist the state in his criminal trials that will happen with regards to those corruption cases. So that is the kind of witness I am looking for, because if you have that witness, it means that he'll be able to also testify in court and maybe make a deal. Those are the witnesses I think will assist for a criminal case or criminal cases to be opened. But so far, we do see that some decisions were made and they were not supposed to be made the way they were made. But what is important is there any criminality in those decisions? For example, with the decision to disband the PKTT, we need more than obviously saying that Mr. Mkhulu made a wrong decision. We need to know why he made the decision. So I'm still interested why he made the decision and how we can link that to a criminal act where he can be prosecuted for. Otherwise, I think there are aspects where you can see that there are some criminal cases that can be opened, but let's see how it goes, because I believe that there are some witnesses that we still need to hear. But unfortunately, for witness D, he was assassinated, and he did come with relevant information, which for now, I think I did hear that there are some people that were arrested, but we still need to hear whether it is in connection with the Commission of Inquiry.
Yeah, and that brings me to that question, Kenny. Okay, we fast forward to where we are now in terms of just bringing in witness D. I mean, I think South Africans were quite shocked when we heard of the killing of a witness who testified at the Madlanga Commission in camera, of course. His voice was audible. Just talk to us about where this places the Commission's work now. We heard, of course, the Justice Minister calling for extreme caution around witnesses, particularly testifying at the Commission. But it has brought a lot of questions, I must say, especially if you were listening to the National Commissioner's briefing in terms of 3 suspects who have been identified or persons of interest at this point. But it also raises more questions than answers, particularly if you had been listening to his testimony. But bring us up to speed in terms of how key of a witness was Witness D?
Indeed. And just for clarity, there have been a number of in-camera witnesses, whether it is in full or partially, that have testified before the Commission. And it was always understood that it was going to be that kind of nature of proceedings, where we have seen 1 or 2 that have been completely in camera without any audio or visuals or any of that sort. And then, of course, we had witnesses like Witness D who would be audible, but we just wouldn't see them. And I hear there is discourse about the fact that he would have been known to the people that knew his voice. But we do know that following the tragic incident, and the sources that we've been speaking to on the ground, is that there are multiple possible links that not only private security are exploring, but the police themselves are exploring with Witness D's murder. And of course, it wouldn't be appropriate to speculate at this point as to what could have taken place there. But we know that because of the region that he worked in, Ekurhuleni, and the kind of criminality that plagues that particular region, you've heard already from testimony at the Madlanga Commission, that he was working in very dangerous terrain. So not only was his information helpful to the Madlanga Commission with respect to the alleged criminality that had plagued the city, that went far beyond this question of the Blue Light saga, and now went to common incidents of alleged kidnapping, extortion, theft, and even murder, implicating those EMPD officials. Of course, he was private security that was roped in to assist with that operation, but we also know that he worked a lot in that illegal mining and Zama space, and had done quite successful operations there, and allegedly had garnered some enemies there. So we know that multiple possible links linked to this dangerous field of private security, where you are in areas where it can be quite risky to work there. It's just unfortunate that the timing happened 2 days after the city of Ekurhuleni evidence had been explored from the vantage point of the implicated persons, that is Dr. Imogen Mashazi, and of course Julius Mkhwanazi, who was fingered and implicated in that murder scene, and to the extent that Marius van der Merwe had alleged that he was fingered by Mkhwanazi to dispose of the body and instructed to do so, and guided the members allegedly on how to clean up the alleged act. So that is the implication with respect to Mkhwanazi in the city of Ekurhuleni. But of course, we know that the work of Marius van der Merwe went far beyond the testimony that he made at the Madlanga Commission. So there are multiple links that the police will be looking at, and it wouldn't be appropriate at this stage to try and reach conclusions on that.
And Prof, let me rope you in. I mean, just based on the evidence that we've heard from the witnesses, particularly the key witnesses so far, when you have initial witnesses describing collusion, systemic abuse, political criminal nexus, quite importantly, how deep do you think does the rot look like or go? Is structural reform at this stage, even before we have that initial preliminary report from the Commission, plausible in terms of a remedy? Can we even start talking a remedy at this stage, given the fact that we still have to, as Kenny has also alluded to, go through phase 2 and phase 3 of the Commission itself?
Yeah, thank you. A good question. The rot appears to have gone deeper than we know at this stage. And it appears that this is the tip of an iceberg. But on the other hand, we have to be grateful that this kind of corruption has come to the surface, and it will give South Africa an opportunity to start with reforms after this commission and the ad hoc committee, as we know that they will provide recommendations. With the Madlanga Commission, we are told that in a week or 2 weeks' time, there will be a preliminary report which at least will paint clearer picture. Coming back to the issue of witness protection program in South Africa, I think this is a bone of contention. We have had, unfortunately, a lot of witnesses that have lost their lives because they decided to blow the whistle on corruption. Some have gone to exile in an attempt to protect themselves and their loved ones. And but the incident that happened with one of the witnesses that was unfortunately killed will assist the Commission to devise other strategies to protect witnesses, because one has to ask a question: how protected are these witnesses, even if they testify in camera? Is there a possibility that they can be identified? So those are the issues that, especially the NAT joint that has been established, will look into that, because when one goes to the Commission itself, Colleen will understand that the security at that point is it's very good, but we don't know when the witnesses leave that space how protected they are. And we also have heard that some witnesses opt not to be protected because of various phobias. Some claim that it is the very same police that are meant to protect them that will blow their cover. So hopefully there will be other strategies in terms of witness protection in this country, and we will also be able to benchmark with other countries where similar commissions take place and how they protect their citizens who have to give testimony. Because we will understand that without testimony, the courts of law will not be able to come to a decision. So if you come to a stage where you threaten witnesses and in such a way that they are afraid to come forward, it means that criminality will be perpetuated.
Mr. Kulu, just based on what the Prof is saying, particularly on witness protection, I think it's a key one. It's an important one, given just the concerns around this. Also questions if this particular killing, even though we don't want to speculate, could also compromise, just the bigger role of the Commission. What obligation, if any, does then the state have, given this particular, murder of a witness D, to strengthen its, witness protection mechanisms? Could failure to do so, could failure to protect these mechanisms undermine perhaps even just the legitimacy of the Commission's final findings, do you think?
Yes, I think if the state fails to provide a way to give protection to the witnesses, it will be a problem. Although, as Ms. Mapanga said, and Prof also added, we do not want to speculate and say this is why witness D was killed. But I think maybe to allay fears, we must quickly get information what exactly led to the killing of witness D, so that at least we don't say, if you're going to be a witness, we've got proof that there are some killings that happened because you're a witness. But the important thing is, at the end of the day, the witnesses who are coming to the Commission, they have crucial information, and it's to investigate the criminality, political interference, and corruption of certain institutions like the police and municipalities in terms of police departments. So what is important is those witnesses must be protected, and the states must ensure that that is done. But like the Minister of Justice said, they do come to witnesses and they ask them, do you need protection? Can we assist you? And like witness D said in that situation, he said, no, I don't need protection because I have I believe it's a security company, something to that effect. So sometimes the witnesses will be the ones who will be saying, no, I don't need protection in this case, I'm safe. But I think the Ministry of Justice and relevant stakeholders, I believe there is a program and they do assist in that. But like I said in the beginning, we really need information on how witness D passed away or was killed, and that would assist to see if extra security is needed, because it will mean if you come to testify and there's a potential that because of the information you bring, you might be killed, then that means, there's a seriousness that needs to be attached to the security of the witnesses and everybody that is involved in the commission.
Yeah. As we wrap up, I'm going to ask all of you just to give me your take in terms of next steps, Kenny. I'm going to start with you. Of course, Mkhwanazi's testimony has really put clear the Commission's purpose into clear focus. And that's essentially what we've been seeing since July. The investigation around possible criminality, political and criminal interference into the criminal justice system. The report that will come from the Commission is quite crucial and will lay bare in terms of the next steps, but also notwithstanding just some of the critical information that we've been hearing up to so far. What are we likely then to see in as far as those next steps are concerned?
So the prelim report is due by the 17th of December. That is the date upon which the President expects to receive that particular report. Now, because the implicated persons have only really given their testimony in bits, this report will not be giving any kind of conclusion at this stage. It's a mere progress report to give the President an idea of the problem, if any, that he may be facing with respect to the allegations that are made. It will also lay the foundation of how far those allegations extend to, because it was not only Mkhwanazi and SAP's top-ranking officials that testified in phase 1, but they went beyond to the city of Ekurhuleni as well, and they went on to intelligence, and they went on to the Hawks. So it covers quite a wide, vast of evidence with respect to law enforcement, and also mentions the judiciary. So you're looking at least a summary of the allegations that are faced in different law enforcement agencies, and well as institutions within the criminal justice system. And then you'll also get a portion of the implicated person, specifically Mkhulu's evidence, which deals at this stage with the rationale behind his PKTT decision. Now, in terms of the report itself, the President enjoys quite a wide discretion on this particular report. Whether or not he'll choose to release it is his discretion, and of course whether or not he chooses to act on the prelim reports. So if he chooses, for example, to consider taking action against individuals using that prelim report, it is up to him to decide to do so. Of course, if the report is not released, this doesn't mean that members of the public that have garnered this great interest into the hearings, which have been quite transparent and open throughout its start from the 17th of September, doesn't mean that they don't have recourse to challenge that decision in a court of law. But however, the President can decide, if it is not in the public interest to release the prelim report, he can decide not to do so.
And just from a legal standpoint, Mr. Tulu, what, in your view then, is likely to come out, firstly, out of that report, just minding, of course, the legal ramifications too, but also the President's mandate?
I think what's going to come out is we're going to see if there is a clear link of criminality on the justice system. And then we're going to see whether also the political interference is there as well. But like I said, I don't think all the witnesses, some have testified, but I think there are still some witnesses that still need to testify. So we'll be able to see what else is missing in terms of the witnesses. But I think at this stage, maybe for the presidency or the president to take any form of actions, I think maybe it might be early unless there's evidence that is clear. I think it's early for that, but it's going to be important for us to see at least where the Commission is standing and where it's going. But let's wait for the reports and then we'll see where it goes from there. But for any decision to be made, I think it's too early. Let's wait until the final report is made.
And Prof, let's end with you. Given, of course, the number of times there's been so many comparisons with other commissions, before the Madlanga Commission, the Zondo Commission, Nugent Commissions, just to name a few, notwithstanding, of course, what we've been talking about here in terms of this has been the first phase, what should we be seeing? Because also there have been those risks and those gaps, at least from a governance perspective, that have already been uncovered so far. What should be coming out of, firstly, that interim report and also the President's position?
Yeah, a good question. my view is to be cautiously optimistic. I'm an optimist, but looking at the commissions previously, I concluded that the preliminary report will not result into action. What worries me is the portfolio. The Ministry of Police is a very key portfolio looking at the rate of crime in this country. So if you have a person who's acting in that portfolio, it will mean that we know that when you are acting in a position, it is difficult to take concrete decisions because you are not so sure whether your strategies will be implemented or will you be removed or you are going to take over. So that is what worries me. Obviously, as the other speakers here have said, it's the prerogative of the president to either make this preliminary report public or not, but that will result in uncertainty because if there's a report, whether adverse or otherwise, and it is only the president that know about the contents of that report, it will result in uncertainty, which we do not want to continue as we grapple with crime in this country. In other countries, when there is serious allegations like this, people step aside and allowing the investigations because investigations normally takes time. So when they are exonerated, they are able to return to their position without clouds hanging over their heads. So my wish would be that the action should be taken to make sure that that portfolio is not left in a vacuum.
Right. Thank you so much, Prof, and thank you so much to all our guests here this afternoon. Of course, in studio with us is SABC's senior reporter, Kenny Mapanga, and joining us online was Professor Dumisani Mabunda, who is a lecturer at the College of Law Police Practice Department at the University of South Africa, and of course, legal analyst, Mr. Melusi Xulu.